headed for an energy crisis. And you best to believe that one. And I know we are, because they're telling us, Chevron and Exxon are telling us that we are on our way for energy crisis because we are literally running out of oil inventories. Are you listening now? Iran is not making a deal with the U.S. I want to be crystal clear about that. The President of the United States of America is lying to you. Current prices are high because we're using up our reserves. But wait till we run out. Wait till there's not any more reserves. I know what you're saying, Perez. We don't get our oil from the Middle East. No. But every place that we buy stuff from does. And if they can get their oil from the Middle East, guess where they go? Bingo. They go to the same places we buy oil from, which makes the demand higher and it makes the cost increase. And the companies are warning you. But you're not listening.
ExxonMobil's senior vice president, Neil Chapman, I'm sure you saw what he said to investors on a conference call this week. He said, we're approaching unheard of inventory levels. I mean, really, really low levels. You can debate whether it's going to hit those really low levels in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But once you get to that point, you'll see the price shoot up.
Last shipment of the oil from the Middle East just landed in California, in Long Beach. That tanker sailed before the war started because there's a time delay, right? It takes 50 days to sail from Persian Gulf to the west coast of U.S. So now all the oil that sailed before the war started has arrived. The shortage will now begin. No, we have not seen anything yet. Because up to this point, we're still getting the oil that was coming in more than a month ago that was already on the ocean. Now the real shortage will begin. And all thanks to Donald Trump. And last shipment of the oil from the Middle East just landed in California, in Long Beach. That tanker sailed before the war started because there's a time delay. Right, it takes 50 days to sail from Persian Gulf to the west coast of U.S. So now all the oil that sailed before the war started has arrived. The shortage will now begin. We have not seen anything yet. Because up to this point, we're still getting the oil that was coming in more than a month ago that was already on the ocean. Now the real shortage will begin, and all thanks to Donald Trump.
Americans are so short-sighted, nauseatingly, especially investors, nauseatingly optimistic in a manipulated oil market, commodity market. Nobody's paying attention. Oil's kind of cratered this week. Brent crude, oil has kind of taken a dip this week, between Monday and Friday of this week. I kind of follow the markets like that. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, is reporting that the global, and this is what people don't understand. You have to explain this to MAGA because, their profound ignorance on so many issues is just staggering. It really is incredible to try to wrap your mind around. Oil is a global commodity, folks. Global. Every barrel of oil that we don't consume domestically gets exported, okay? These companies are in it to win it. They want to make money, all right? ExxonMobil and the like. IEA is reporting that between 11 and 13 million barrels of oil a day is missing from the global market. This is more, just put things in perspective for Americans, because I'm here to educate, right? This is more than the 1973, the 1979, and the 2022 oil disruption and combined, those three periods. I remember the 70s. I'm in my mid-50s here, and I remember being, 8 years old, 9 years old, and my mother, pulling up to the gas station in Buffalo, suburbs of Buffalo, in 79, and there being no gas. Not gas was expensive. Well, gas was expensive if you could get it, but not that gas was expensive. That you pulled up to the gas station, there were signs. No gas available. None. Just wasn't there. Okay? That is what a shortage is. That's not an inflation of price. That is, the product is missing from the market. There's nothing to sell. They can't get it. Right? It can't be wholesaled. It can't be bought on the global market. Therefore, it can't be retailed to you. That's what MAG is not fucking understanding, because they're generally dense. But, I'll take it a step further. If you don't believe me, start Googling executives from ExxonMobil talking about there being a critical breakpoint by July where gas shortages should start to hit, or will start to hit if something doesn't change here pretty fucking quick, will start to hit the United States in a big way, way harder, way more of a problem than $4.50 or $4.70 gas is right now. Could you imagine not being able to get it? Not being able to refine gasoline, not being able to put gas in your car to get to work. Trump is emptying the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, at a record fucking rate. More than any president in history, because it's what he does. Okay? He's like a fucking goldfish. He's got the IQ of a goldfish, and he acts like a goldfish. Okay? So he's just going to keep eating our supply, our reserve, to try to keep oil prices artificially deflated and gas artificially deflated. And it's not working, really, by the way, but whatever. Until disaster hits. And according to ExxonMobil and the IEA, it's coming in about 6 fucking weeks. Okay? So, what should you do? What am I doing? Well, I'm going to store 50 gallons. I bought some containers, invested a couple $100. I'm going to fill them up. Again, I'm not worried about gas prices being high. I can afford $5 gas. I mean, I don't want to afford $5 gas or $5.50 gas or even $6 gas. I could afford it if I had to. I don't want to. Folks, the bigger problem is the effect on everything else if oil's not there. Imagine. Unbelievable.